name is Willow, and this is WilloToons Connect, and I'm here connecting and talking to Helen Jane. Helen Jane lives in beautiful St. Helena, which is wine country, and I'm just really excited that we get to chat today.
Welcome to my house.
Thank you. So I'm super excited to speak to Helen Jane because we actually have a lot in common. We've known each other now for, I think, 6 years. A long time in the internet years. A lot has happened. But it's been awesome because both of us have been longtime bloggers, and also you started a web design firm, right?
Mm-hmm.
How long ago? When did you start that?
I started it 5 years ago, Maple Vine, and I had worked for companies for a long time and worked all kinds of companies and agencies, and then finally went out on my own about 5 years ago.
Nice.
So I've been designing websites since 1997. So that's a lot of HTML.
Yeah, and I'm like pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah.
And went out on my own and started my own company in, I guess, 2003.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of by default. Yours was probably a little bit of the same thing where people just started asking you and you were like,
mm-hmm.
okay, and then all of a sudden you had enough work to support yourself and you're like, okay, well, I guess this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yours has been really fun because it has been all like wineries and stuff, right? Or a lot of them?
Yes. I worked for a few large winery corporation type places up here and learned about the business because alcohol is a different business than other businesses. So learned a lot about how it's set up and what you can and can't do online, and so having those skills and designing for wineries ever since.
I think actually one of the first years that we hung out at South by Southwest, she always was like pretty much the go-to hookup for wine sponsors for all the fabulous, and it was true though, are you kidding me? Like get a bunch of internet nerds that are gonna be like tweeting about how something awesome something is. It was like a perfect partnership for you. Mm-hmm. So it was really fun talking to you recently because I started in 2003, and about 5 years into that, I was like, okay, designing websites for other people is really nice and all, but I'll speak actually just even about you because it's such a great example of somebody who has so many talents, and so of course you are able to design websites and do so many graphic things, but you have a passion that you are wanting to follow. You're like, okay, 5 years, and this is what I did when I started WilloToons, where I was like, all right, there's something that's been burbling up, and now you're finally doing it. Tell us about that.
Well, this month I launched a website called hjentertains.com. It started kind of funny from my Helen Jane Twitter account. I started tweeting party tips, and I was using the hashtag HJEntertains, and they were all little party tips, like running out of space for ice. You know, feel free to put it in your washing machine and put the beer in there, and then it all just drains right out. So, you know, little extra tips that 140 characters or less about throwing parties in your own house.
So another thing that Helen Jane's been doing that I've been watching you jealously from afar is this awesome thing called Cheese Whizzes. Tell us about Cheese Whizzes.
Well, it was, it's a cheese tasting group. Food and Wine featured us last December. It was very exciting, and we've got about 10 other chapters across the country. But it was really just, I like cheese and I wanted to share, and there's better ways to taste cheese than you having to buy it all yourself.
You know, you see Helen Jane's blog and she does these, you know, menus, and it's like this beautiful, she's got 2 beautiful girls and a dog and this handsome husband, and it's just like, holy cow, this girl's got it all. But it's also not without its challenges.
Right.
Yeah. James, he works, but you're actually the primary breadwinner of the family, is that right?
Yeah, it was great. As things tend to do, it worked out to support the new direction I was going with work. His company was going to downsize. He was able to come to them with how about I work part-time? And now girls are in school daycare part-time, and he takes care of them the rest of the time. So it works, and there are a lot of dads in town that are in the same exact situation. I think not a lot of media attention's been brought to that, but there are more engaged dads, I think, historically now in the United States than there ever have been.
there's some amazing self-discovery, I think, that happens when you own your own business because it's like that roller coaster, right? And it's interesting because I think that there is an element of what people see on the internet, that it just looks all buttoned up and perfect. And I loved that you were so honest with everyone at the end of last year, that you were like, this isn't actually, let me just tell you what's really going on. So talk to us a little bit about that, if you would.
Well, I think with blogging going from being a personal mode of expression to being a business, and especially with parent bloggers and mommy bloggers, especially in that realm, it's a business. So how you present yourself is how you want to be perceived. And I think I was being guilty for presenting myself as the perfect entertainer at all times and always up for a great party. I had some pretty severe anxiety with Dottie's pregnancy, and then I had some postpartum anxiety. I'm not sure if it was, I don't know. I just had a lot of anxiety with the hormones and everything, and I was a mess. I mean, I could barely do client work. But it was so important to me to keep up, HelenJane.com might be a business one day. This is my personal brand. This is my branding. And it all fell apart. And so just there's no better way than to be honest about it. And so what I decided to do at that time is to split off, now I have some experience with what it takes to make money with a website. I recommend that to my clients. I know some skills from being around so long that here's how you can do it. So I decided to split my personal blog off from my professional blog, and that solved it for me. So now at HelenJane.com, I can keep writing the way I have been for 12 years, and just write about my life and what's real. And I can't really be worried about how that's going to reflect on my professional life.
I absolutely love what you just said, because know your strengths is probably one of the biggest things that anyone needs to learn, has to learn, ends up learning. And no matter how much they tell you in the beginning that you need to just know your strengths and own your weaknesses. When I heard that in the beginning, we try to do it all. We try to master every single part of it. And it is, in the end, which you're probably 5 years later, and that's exactly where I was. I was like, okay, a couple years later, I was like, oh my gosh, I could have saved so much time. I could have saved so much of my sanity.
Well, beating myself up about it. Why can't I finish up projects? Why am I so terrible at this? Oh, I'm awful, I'm terrible, I'm awful.
It's not helping anybody.
I don't have space in my life for that kind of self-talk anymore. So if I'm talking to myself like that about anything, I need to cut it out, and so find help.
Yeah, a lot of this whole WilloToons Connect focus is looking at basically how to have your business sustainably, so that you're not unhealthy, or even saying unhealthy things to yourself, forgetting to eat, eating too much, never exercising, never spending time with your family, all these things that can be so easy to do when you're trying to spin a million plates and run a business and make everyone happy. So I love that you got that. And
we were talking about before with that self-discovery. I've spent a lot of time doing that, and what I was at the top of the things I like to do list was drawing. I was not drawing at all. I hadn't drawn for 8 years, maybe 10 years. I didn't. And so this was a way that it was it's your favorite thing to do. Why are you not doing it? Totally. Now I have an outlet for that.
Or what I call it is that it's sort of when you're doing something you don't want to be doing, and you have that oh, if only. So I call it the if onlys, right? If only I had, I didn't have to work and I had money, what I would do. And I started listening really closely to that list, and it was really easy stuff that I could totally integrate into my life. So why wasn't I doing it? It seemed like this far off, unattainable thing, but when I really listened, it was man, I would just want to do yoga every day and paint. So do yoga and paint. Really, this isn't hard. I'm not even trying to get to Paris or anything. I just want to do yoga and paint. So, okay, how can I clear some space in my life to do yoga and paint?
Well, what's funny about that is I've sort of had a personal motto for about 10 years, and it's always been to inspire creativity through celebration. Who, what, why didn't I think of having a home entertaining website or entertaining? Because I want to help people feel that creativity is something they can grab. I feel the best way to do that is through celebrating. So at what point, it took me a long time to take actually something I held very important to a bigger platform. So if I can help people throw better parties and feel more confident in their creativity, then that's what I feel like I was put here to do.
1, 2, 3. There's a bridge that's calling my name. It's called Once Today.